Wow, that was me. Got some on the microphone. Opening up a Coke Zero. I find that as I do this show, about midway through, I'm a little parched. So having something to drink, be it coffee or water or a cola, helps. It kind of coats my throat and lets me continue. So I went ahead and opened this one early. I thought I could sneak it in before the applause was over, but that booming applause that, has become kind of a regular on the show. It's hard for me to get used to it, but hey, what can I say? But I mentioned coffee, but who really needs coffee when you have Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy? Episode 16 today. Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy is the only podcast awarded the prestigious Energy Star label. Isn't that awesome? We have after I drank that, we have a person that works with us here at the office she's an Indian, East Indian, and came over and got her education here. And several years ago, probably, 5 or 6 years ago, was awarded citizenship, U.S. citizenship, through time and effort. And she was walking by one day, and I was opened soda, and I was thirsty, and I did that. I took a drink, and I did that. And she was like, "What is that?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "That noise." And I said, You don't do that? Never done that? She's like, "No, we don't do that in India." So I chuckled and I told her what it was all about, and I don't know why we do it. We just all do it. But just shortly after that, it was during football season, there was a commercial with one of the soda companies, and it was that other soda that's a little more sweet than Coke, but I drink Coke, so I'm not going to give the other guys a plug. It does start with a P, though. And anyway, the commercial was a kicker he was lining up to kick a field goal, and the audience, in one fell swoop, all of them at the same time, opened their Pepsis. Whoops, I said it. Darn it. Opened those, took a drink, and they all went, right before he was kicking, went, ah. So it was the whole crowd doing it, and then he doinked off the upright and missed the field goal. So anyway, it was funny to me. So I've said this the last couple of weeks, and I'll probably say it for the next few weeks, that fall is in the air. We have highs in the 80s, sometimes the low 80s, and we've got overnight lows in the 50s, and even some that are in the high 40s. So it's kind of an odd time of year. It's comfortable and it's beautiful. And, if you're like me, I love fall. I've mentioned that. If you've listened to the show, I beat that to death almost. But it is my favorite time of year. But it can be confusing to the body, the human body. And it can definitely be confusing to thermostats. And we're going to talk about thermostats today, but how does it confuse a body? Well, it's high 40s in the morning. It's cold, but by the afternoon, it's in the 80s, and it's hot. And you're either you got to kind of dress in layers for the day. Like, you may have a T-shirt on going to work, but you'll have a light jacket on. But by middle of the afternoon, you're going to shed that jacket for the most part, in most cases, and your T-shirt weather by then. My wife's wondering, when do we close down the pool? Well, this is a confusing time of the year. I want to keep it open as long as we can, but at the same time, we don't have a heater in the pool, so it does. The water tends to cool overnight, and it's pretty darn cold. And if you're just in the 80s, it doesn't have an opportunity to warm up much. So I imagine that we'll be closing our pool in the next week or two. But as far as thermostats go, I tell you to keep your thermostat at about 78 78. Yeah, 78 degrees in the summer, and here we are in the early fall. So where do you keep your thermostat? Well, it's hard. You keep it lower than 78 because you have to. Because if you come in and it's 72 degrees outside and it's 78 degrees inside, you're going to be super uncomfortable and you're not going to sleep well. So you actually have to turn your thermostat down a little bit in the fall. That's my recommendation anyway. Not a lot, because you don't want the air conditioning running, a lot, but at least a couple of degrees. Usually I'm a stickler to that 78, but that's the hottest part of the summer I'm talking about. When it's 100 degrees outside or 90s, then that 78 degrees doesn't feel so bad, especially if you have ceiling fans or, oscillating fans going or something like that, moving the air, creating that comfortable draft. But fall's an odd time for thermostats. And during the evening time, if you really want to cool off your house, open some windows and create a cross draft. And I tell you what, we've been doing that, and now we just got back from a mountain trip, and I'm going to talk to that or a little bit, speak of it to that in just a little bit. But first, like last week before we went on our trip, we were opening the windows because it was cooling off at night. And my house would be 76 when I went to bed at night. And then when we woke up in the morning, of course, we pulled all the covers of the sheet up and the covers up because we're kind of chilly, because the house had cooled to, 68 degrees because we had the windows open, creating that cross draft, and it was filtering the warm air out and bringing the cool air in. So and it just smells so good and fresh, and it's just a great time of year. So we're 7 minutes and 32 seconds in. Let me move on because we got a lot of material to cover. But I do want to talk a little bit about my trip with my brothers. So I've got 3 brothers, and their wives and my wife. So there were 8 of us, and we decided we were going to take a little trip, a little R&R, and we went to a nearby mountain town and had a 4-bedroom, 4-bath Airbnb. Very nice, on a golf course. We had just a wonderful time. We took some old pictures that my parents had when they passed, and we went through a lot of those, and first time we'd seen those pictures in a long time, and just told stories on each other, and it was a fun time. However, we were trying to figure out the thermostat, and it turns out it was a smart thermostat. Well, the smart thermostat's only as smart as the users. And I would say the 4 brothers, we all made an attempt at the thermostat, and the 4 of us put together make one pretty smart guy. But when we're working alone and trying to figure out this thermostat, it was difficult. And what was strange about it was, I guess it can be too smart or just over-designed, and that's exactly what this one was. I can't remember what it was, ECO something or another. I should have looked that up. But this particular model, it wasn't a touchscreen. Now, I don't know, touchscreen technology has been around a long time, and it works very well. Instead, they had you slid your index finger or whatever finger on the side of it, and you only of the 360 degrees around, it was a round thermostat, only about 40 degrees of it, maybe 50 degrees of it was usable. There's one area, and it's just super sensitive. So we're moving our hands up and down on it, trying to get it to, set. And then we had it in the wrong mode, and we're trying to cool it off because it got a little warm in there. And I tell you what, I think we were going to dinner. It was 76 degrees in there, and we were like, man, it's kind of stuffy, So I finally figured it out. And it took me, no joke, 20 minutes. So I'm over there, moving my finger up and down, and finally it said cool mode. And it was heat mode. That's what it was. It was heat mode. And then it said click to or tap to change, and I just did tap my index finger on it, and it switched to cool. But then I had to figure out how to get to the actual temperature change on the thermostat where I could go up or down. So I finally got it to about 60. I got it set at 68, and I thought I'm going to leave that. And so I told everybody when we get back, it's going to be 68 degrees, and it was comfortable for sleeping, and actually too cool. But we'd been so hot, throughout the day that it was a nice welcomed relief. But in the morning, for one, I guess while I was messing with it, I turned a timer on, or something, or the owners of the Airbnb, got on their app and thought 68 degrees, no way. And so when we woke up, it was 76, and it wasn't running. It just warmed up to that, I guess, during the course of the evening. But the heater might have come on. I don't know, but it was 76 when we woke up. But yeah, they're only as smart as the people operating them. So this is a great segue into the material we're going to talk about today, and we're 11 minutes and 30 seconds in, so I'm going to step it up. I'm trying to keep these right around 30 minutes because I don't want to lose anybody. But we got a question from a listener, and I'm going to keep these all anonymous because I don't have a disclaimer that says, excuse me, can we use your name on air or anything like that? And I don't want to even go to that trouble. So these are all be anonymous. So it says, hey, Energy Guy, I'm considering installing a smart thermostat. I know they vary in price from one company to the next, and some have greater features. What are your thoughts on smart thermostats? So, yeah, it's great. Let's just preface it by this. Smart thermostats offer pros like energy and cost savings, remote control, customizable scheduling, and smart home integration, alongside cons such as higher initial cost, potential installation complexity, the need for Wi-Fi connectivity, and possible data security and privacy concerns. They are worthwhile investment for many due to their energy efficiency and convenience, though a user's comfort with technology, and this was our problem, and the quality of their HVAC system are important factors to consider. So yeah, that was important. The HVAC system was fine, but the user's comfort with this type of technology, particularly this one we were using, this ECO, I'm not sure what model it was, with just the finger touch on the side, was a bit confusing. So I thought, let's talk about some of the pros of smart thermostats. Well, the first one is energy and cost savings. By learning your routine and adjusting the temperature automatically, smart thermostats can significantly reduce energy consumption and lower your utility bills. So they are, I guess you could say, what I used to call artificial intelligence. They get smarter as they're used or as they see a pattern. And they've had that technology for a long time in water heating to try to save money. So there's a brain in some water heaters that I think they were Whirlpool that first came out with those, and they would learn your patterns, what you like. If you got up and showered at 6:30 every morning, it had hot water available at 6:30. If you washed dishes at 7 p.m., it had the hot water most hot at 7 or 6:30, 7 o'clock when you needed to run the dishwasher, and so on and so forth. Now, the problem with that is it may be lukewarm if you decided, if you went out and mowed the yard and 3 in the afternoon decided to take a shower, it may be just lukewarm. So, and then the worst case scenario, the brain just failed altogether, and you couldn't get hot water. Now they learned a way to bypass that, but water heaters have had this kind of technology for a long time. So now we've got remotes out there that are learning the pattern of usage. So if you have the thermostat at 78 during the day, but then you want to lower it a little bit during the night, or vice versa, if you do that for a little while, It's going to learn that pattern. But normally those patterns are better established or best established during the dead of the winter or the dead of the height of the summer. Because the fall is going to be completely, and spring will be very confusing to not only the user, but to the smart thermostat. Remote access and control. You can monitor and adjust your home's temperature from anywhere using a smartphone app, providing convenience and ensuring your home is comfortable upon your arrival. That's a good deal. That's one thing we didn't have. I guess we could have probably, established an account with Eco and paired it with the thermostat. We didn't go to that much trouble. So we were only there, a couple of nights anyway. So it was, overall we had a good time. I mean, I'm jokingly, complaining about this thermostat, but we had a great time. Smart scheduling and learning. Many models learn your habits. We talked about that, and can automatically adapt settings for different times of day and different times of the week, optimizing comfort and efficiency. Smart home integration. Smart thermostats can integrate with other smart home devices, enhancing your home's overall automation and connectivity. So that's cool. We'll have to look into some of those other smart home devices in future shows, and then we'll understand how a thermostat may integrate with that. Maintenance reminders, and this is one thing my thermostat's done for a long time, and I would say it's a fairly smart thermostat. It is touchscreen and it's large, so I can see it. That's another thing. We were having a hard time seeing that smaller. I would say it was probably 4 inches in diameter, but the lighting wasn't very good. That's what old men say. They say kids mumble and the lighting's never good enough to see well. So we never want to admit that our hearing's diminishing, our sight is diminishing. So, but anyway, those maintenance reminders are nice. Some smart thermostats provide alerts for tasks like replacing air filters, and that's what mine does, helping you maintain your HVAC system and prevent costly repairs. And that's true. You guys need to be thinking about changing your filters. And if you don't have a thermostat to remind you, you should be doing it about every other month. I don't mean you have to go out and buy the $20 air filter. I think a $8 air filter will suffice. Energy usage insights. You can view energy usage data through the app to better understand your consumption and identify opportunities to save more money. So those are the pros. Now let's talk about the cons, and we are 18 minutes and 7 seconds in, so we're going to pick it up just a little bit. So one of the cons, are higher upfront costs. Smart thermostats are more expensive to purchase than traditional or basic programmable thermostats. And I did look up some of the prices. So they range, it's crazy. There's a huge range. They start at about $80. And by the way, we have a $75 rebate for Farmers Electric members. So if you put in a smart thermostat, we will give you a $75 rebate. So that's cash back in your pocket. So that's a good deal. But they range from about $80, and get this, to $650. Now, I don't know. Maybe that $650 thermostat, has your coffee ready for you when you wake up in the morning. Or may be part of that integration I was talking about with other smart devices. But I mean, $650, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of electric bills, actually. It's certainly a big part of your heating and air conditioning cost annually. And I did find this factoid, which was interesting. A smart thermostat can save you approximately 8 to 10% of your annual heating and cooling cost, or about $50 to $150 per year. So the return of investment would be, in most cases, 1 year, because there's a lot of these devices that are between $80 and $150. There's, I don't know, oodles and gobs of them. So that just means that after the return of that in your investment, all the other savings going forward are just gravy. So that's always nice. Compatibility issues. Not all HVAC systems are compatible with all smart thermostat models, so you may need to check compatibility or invest in additional equipment. Installation complexity. This would be something I might struggle with. While some are designed for easy installation, others may require professional help or involve rewiring, which can be a hassle and can be a little more expensive. Reliance on Wi-Fi. A stable internet connection is necessary for remote access and to utilize the full range of smart features, and issues with connectivity can limit functionality. That makes sense. We're real fortunate in our area anyway, the high plains of eastern New Mexico, that we have great internet providers. We really do. And I'm going to mention Plateau because they've been friends with Farmers Electric for a good number of years, probably since their inception. And I can't tell you when that was, but it was probably in the early 70s. But they've been around a long time. Farmers Electric's been around 87 years, give or take. Going on, more cons. Data security concern. Because they connect to the internet and collect data on your usage patterns, there's a potential risk of data breaches if security measures are not robust. Learning curve. Some users, particularly those less comfortable with technology, and that's not necessarily me or my brothers. It was just awkward, that one that we used this past week. But anyway, some of those that are less comfortable with technology may find the setup process and features of smart thermostat to be too complex. So that's about all I could find on my bit of research that I did. But I hope that's helpful to you. And we'll probably have and I hope that was helpful to the person that asked that question. Again, Farmers Electric has a $75 cashback rebate for any member of Farmers Electric that chooses to install a new smart thermostat. So now if it costs you $50, we're only going to give you $50. But if it costs you $75, we'll give you $75. So if it's greater than 75 equal to or greater than $75, you get the full amount. If it costs you $600 and whatever that was, $50, you're getting $75. So, be smart, shop around, read reviews. Man, I find those reviews so helpful. Google reviews are helpful. If you're looking at Amazon to buy it, read those reviews. If you're looking at a local hardware store or, a mom and pop, just go see what they've got and then go back and Google that and read those reviews. And I do encourage you to try to support these local stores that are owned by your neighbors that sponsor Little League teams and because we want to support these brick and mortar stores in the towns that we live, because one of these days some of these online companies are going to be the only ones we have to shop, and then all of a sudden their prices might not be as appealing as they once were. 23 after, I guess I could say 23 after the hour. This show drops at 7 a.m. every Saturday morning. Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. But we're 23 minutes, 42 seconds in, so I need to get on to this day in history. I missed a week, and I got some flack over it from some of our listeners. So I'm going to keep doing this as best I can. On this day, in 1923, there was somebody born named Charlton Heston. You probably heard of the actor Charlton Heston. His chiseled looks and booming voice, he starred in epic motion pictures such as The Ten Commandments and Ben-Hur. Those two movies for me can never get too old. And they were made right around the same time, the mid-1950s, I believe, but two epic movies, and both of them just as good as can be. And I think they both swept the Academy Awards, but I didn't look any of that up. But Charlton Heston died in 2008, a great American. On October 4th, 1777, 11,000 patriots under the command of General George Washington attempt an early morning attack on British General William Howe's 9,000 British troops at Germantown, Pennsylvania, 5 miles north of the British-occupied capital city of Philadelphia. Washington's Continental forces were tired, they were poorly trained, they were poorly fed, and poorly clothed. Nonetheless, Washington thought They were ready to fight and had planned to send 4 columns into battle with bits of white paper tucked into their hats to help them identify each other in the darkness of the early morning. Washington's elaborate plan was thrown into disarray, however, when 2 columns got lost in heavy morning fog. By 10 a.m., the battle was over. The Americans were forced to retreat, with both sides suffering heavy losses: 152 dead, 521 wounded, 400 captured for the Patriots, and 71 dead, 450 wounded, and 14 missing for the British. So the battle was considered a victory for the British, but we all know the rest of the story on that one. Mount Rushmore on October 4th, 1927, sculpting begins on the face of Mount Rushmore in the Black Hills National Forest of South Dakota. It would take another 12 years for the granite image of 4 America's most revered presidents: George Washington, who we just spoke about, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt has to be one of my favorite presidents. If you ever have the opportunity, read books and articles about Theodore Roosevelt. He was a tremendous man. All of them were, but to me, I think given everything, he was my favorite president. But anyway, I'm hoping that the podcast really takes off, and my name becomes commonplace in households across America and the world, for that matter. And perhaps there's a little room for my face someday on Mount Rushmore. Stranger things have happened. People believe in Sasquatch and Bigfoot. People believe in UFOs. So, maybe I'm onto something here. 27 minutes, 20 seconds in. Folks, I really appreciate people listening to the show, the podcast, and there's a number of different platforms you can hear it on. You can hear it on YouTube. You can hear it on Spotify podcast. You can hear it on Apple Podcasts. So we're on all 3 of those platforms. We're considering adding, what is it? iHeart, I believe, is the one we were considering. It's a little more complex as far as setting it up, but we're looking into that. And can't think of any shout-outs except to our general manager. He said he was traveling, Antonio Sanchez Jr., he was traveling the other day and had to drive to Oklahoma, and he was able to listen to 13 of my podcast, and I quizzed him a little bit, so I know he wasn't fibbing. He answered my questions and absolutely listened, and so he said I'm doing a good job, so I appreciated that. And another one of our most avid listeners is my daughter. And it's funny, I gave a plug for Coke Zero last week, and she said I was wielding a lot of power. And I said, how's that? And she sent me a picture of her drinking a Coke Zero. So I don't know that she's ever tried one before. She likes those seltzers, and we talked about a refrigerator a couple of weeks ago. And her refrigerator is one of those smart refrigerators. Way too complex for me, but it has a little seltzer machine in it, or dispenser. So, she likes the seltzers, but she drank in honor of me, I guess, a Coke Zero, and she said she really enjoyed it. So, folks, that is about it for Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. We'll see you next week.